Kashmir. The decline of Buddhism in the valley of Kashmir appears to have begun in the post-Kushana period. Though Mihirkul, between 510 and 542 of the Common Era, was furiously anti-Buddhist and withdrew all state patronage to it, his policies did not result in its extermination from Kashmir, as Kalhan's Rajtarangani talks of continuous support to Buddhist establishments by kings and nobles. However, by the time of the arrival of Xuanzang, Buddhism had passed its prime in Kashmir primarily due to the ascendance of Shaivism, as now Deva temples began to enjoy much attention. The Jainendra Vihar at Urus, a place of exceptional religious merit and academic brilliance, was found by Xuanzang in disarray, and whereas in Parnots, that is Punch, Xuanzang saw 5 viharas in ruins with some monks in one vihara, he saw 10 viharas with only a few monks in the kingdom of Rajpura, that is Rajouri. However, after Xuanzang's visit, there was some revival of Buddhism, as Hecho mentions not only numerous viharas and monks but also various members of the royalty building viharas and giving endowments for their maintenance. Thus, when Wukhung arrived in 759, he found 300 viharas in Kashmir as against the over 100 mentioned by Xuanzang. Shiv Swami, a Buddhist aficionado who lived in Kashmir during the reign of King Avantivarman, uses various Buddhist terms and ideas liberally in his poem Kafhinodaya, but towards the end he lauds the Brahmanical ideal of a household as compared to the Buddhist ideal of monkhood. As suggested by R.C. Mitra, this may be an indication of the cultural ascendancy of Brahmanical ideal, which as time went by became accelerated. Nevertheless, till the end of the 10th century, Buddhism continued to enjoy some support. During the reign of Nandi Gupta 972-73, Vaishnavite queen Didda is known to have built Buddhist viharas apart from Vaishnava temples. The Palola Shahi kings of Gilgit are known to have been enthusiastic patrons of Buddhist literature and art, and Buddhism appears to have survived in Gilgit at least till the end of the 10th century. However, King Kalas and his notorious grandson Harsh of the first Lohar dynasty withdrew all support to Buddhism, but during the second Lohar dynasty from 1101 onwards, such a trend was reversed and King Jai Simha from 1128 onwards is known to have built a Buddhist vihar, bestowing an endowment on it. In the 13th century, at the time of Marco Polo's travels, the Kashmir Valley had become predominantly Brahmanical Hindu, with perhaps Buddhism surviving only in small pockets. The growth of the Tantricism further blurred the differences between Buddhism and Shaiva Tantrism at the cost of the former. By the time of Rinchan's accession in 1320 and his conversion from Buddhism to Islam, Buddhism remained no longer a force to reckon with. When towards the end of the 16th century Abul Fazl visited Kashmir with Emperor Akbar, there were still some old persons who owed allegiance to Buddhism. Western India and the adjoining regions. Archaeological and literary evidence suggests that urban settlements with Buddhist connections, such as Kumbhavati, that is Nasik, declined in the pre-Gupta period. Maheshmati, that is Maheshwar, during the Gupta period, and Ujjain, Jet Uttar, that is Nagri, Banvasi, and Bharukach, that is Bharuch, during the post-Gupta period. Thus, it seems that some monasteries must have fallen on bad days in the post-Kushana period. When Xuanzang visited Gujarat, Brahmanical Hindu temples outnumbered Buddhist viharas in the countries of Bharukach, that is Bharuch, Kutch, Kit, that is Kutch, Vallabhi, modern Val, Anandpur, that is Vadnagar, Surat, that is Surat, Gurjar, with capital at Bhilmal, that is Barmer, and Malav. Xuanzang saw no Buddhists in the country of Maheshwarpur. The Matrikas of Vallabhi, who succeeded the Guptas and Hunas in Gujarat from the 6th to the 8th century, and typically referred to themselves as Shaiva. A quarter of their inscriptions record donations to Buddhists, including the Vallabhi Mahavihar. Hecho found Buddhism flourishing in Sindh, Gujarat, or Rajputana, and according to him, Buddhism in Vallabhi was highly revered by the royalty and the masses, and there were many viharas and monks. However, Hecho laments that half of the country had been invaded by the Arabs and was already ravaged. According to I Ching, who came in 676, the Samitya school was the most thriving sect of Buddhism in Lat, though some followers of other sects also could be found. In the early 780s, Saurashtra was invaded by the Abbasid rulers, who demolished the huge complex of Buddhist viharas at Vallabhi, including the Dudda Vihar. According to Xuanzang, there were over 100 viharas with over 5,000 monks in Maharashtra, the Deva temples numbering hundreds with quite numerous heretics. The Buddhist establishment at Ajanta had already become derelict when Xuanzang visited. Though the establishments at Ellora and Aurangabad appear to have continued till about the middle of the 8th century, however, the Sangharam at Kanheri remained in occupation well into the 11th century, by when only a few scattered monastic communities were left in Maharashtra. Probably the last epigraphic evidence of Buddhism in Maharashtra comes from the time of King Gandaraditya, 1108 onwards, of the Kolhapur branch of the Silahara dynasty. This king is known to have built some temples dedicated to Shankar, the Jinn, and the Buddha. From the early medieval period, there is evidence indicating acculturation and assimilation of Buddhism into Brahmanical Hinduism, and some of the excavated Buddhist sites show evidence of being taken over by the Brahmanical Hinduism. Though kings and their ministers were not anti-Buddhist, but the Rashtrakutas and the succeeding dynasties increasingly supported Brahmanical Hindu institutions. For instance, at Ellora, the Dashavatar was probably a Buddhist edifice originally taken over by the Brahmanical Brahmins under the patronage of the Rashtrakutas. This could only mean that the life of the Buddhist community at Ellora was either coming to an end or had already ended. The Deccan. Archaeological evidence indicates that Buddhist influence in peninsular India was confined mainly to the coastal towns and inland urban centers where commercial activities were taking place. With the onset of decline of urbanization in South India from about the 3rd century of the Common Era, some of the monasteries appear to have lost sport. When Xuanzang arrived in South India, Buddhism was declining in most parts. Xuanzang saw many viharas in ruins in the countries of Andhra, Dhankatak, Chol, Dravid, Malkut, that is Kerala, and Konkanpur. When Hecho arrived in South India, though he saw many viharas and monks in the Chalukya kingdom, he also saw a large monastery in the mountains which was ruined and had no monk. Though some examples of persecution by the Pallava kings and others are cited as having contributed to the decline of Buddhism in South India, sufficient evidence of overt persecution of Buddhists is lacking. Similarly, Shankaracharya's campaign and his defeat of the Buddhists in a debate at Kanchi are proposed as having quickened the decline of Buddhism in South India. Further, the emergence of the imperial Cholas with their allegiance to Shaivism is also viewed as having worked to the disadvantage of Buddhism in Tamil Land. Besides, Buddhism had become interlaced with the Shaiva ideas and with practices of Hatha Yoga in the south, and was thus in a state of imperceptible dissolution amidst forms of tantric Hinduism. Above all, the ascendancy of the agrarian class and its alliance with Brahmanical Brahmins during the heydays of the Bhakti movement, the former sporting the Shaiva and Vaishnavite faiths, and the ruling authorities switching patronage from the Buddha to Brahmanical Hindu deities may have tilted the scales against Buddhism, which was supported mainly by the mercantile communities. However, remnants of Buddhism survived in nooks and corners of South India until at least the 16th century, if not later. The Chaitanya Charit Amrit, written by Krishan Das Kaviraj in 1582, talks about Sri Chaitanya having discussions with several Buddhists and defeating them in debates, along with their guru at Venkatagiri near Arcot. Archaeological evidence from Nakapattinam and its neighborhood has yielded as many as 350 Buddhist bronze images ranging from the 9th to the 16th, 17th century. Thank you.